Hello and welcome back to the Loyal Sons Show. That's at the Loyal Sons on all of your social medias. Follow us there and follow us here for Pitt sports content you will not want to miss. If you love Phil Jurkovec and hate that four members of the ACC are actively trying to tank the conference, this is the place for you. The Loyal Sons Show, a safe, sunshiny place for your Pitt athletics fix, brought to you by Section 5. My name is David. I am joined by my co-hosts Dylan and Squid, who does not own a lamp. And we are here for a great episode today. So much exciting stuff. The scrimmage occurred yesterday. Today is Sunday. Yesterday was Saturday. The scrimmage occurred. Realignment continues to exist, unfortunately. And Elijah Zeise joined the show, which you will hear in just a few minutes. And we had a surprise guest as well stop by. But before we get to all of that good stuff, gentlemen, how are we doing?
I feel pretty good, just based on what I've been hearing from the scrimmage, from camp. I am getting very antsy and very excited for this Pitt football season.
Oh, yeah, I'm super hyped. One, because we just recorded the segment you'll be hearing in a few minutes, and it starts off joking about some of the craziness that happened during Elijah's Pitt career, some of the wild and wacky losses and the ups and downs. But by the end, you'll be tearing up and or running through a brick wall because it gets you juiced up for Pitt football.
It got existential, like what it truly means to be like a Pitt man and a Pitt fan, like what the program represents to people. Our special guest really brought the house down. It's Uncle Dick. Our stats and info department. He stopped by, long friend of the show and of Elijah Zeise's. So he got us in our feels. But,
but also on top of that, hearing some pretty good things about our new quarterback.
So should we go there?
The breaking news sound.
Da-na-na.
Wait, Dylan, make the train noise.
Chugga, choo choo. All aboard the Jurkovec hype train. It is leaving the station.
So you're probably wondering what all those sounds could possibly mean. So yesterday was the scrimmage, the big, training camp scrimmage that no media is allowed to go to, and we can only ever hear rumors about. So the Loyal Sons did not sneak in. We need to do that one year. That'd be very funny. But the rumors that we are hearing out of the scrimmage are that Phil Jurkovec tore it the fuck up. Like absolute laser show. And I'll be honest, we heard it from like 2, maybe 3 people, and they all could have heard it from the same source. But you know what we're not going to do? We're not going to ask questions when we're handed good news, because that would not be very Loyal Sons of us.
But David, didn't you see those 2 wobbly passes that were shown in that 1-minute highlight video?
Shut up, Squid.
Yeah, well, those were 2 of the passes. We've been hearing all of training camp. Pitt's been taking some deep shots. This isn't last year's. They don't trust Slovis to make more than one read on a passing play. Jurkovec staying in the pocket and taking shots deep to a bunch of guys. Word on the street.
Yeah, it sounds like they are airing the ball out, and Phil is doing a damn good job with it. He's confident. These guys like him. He's a local guy, obviously, his first year with the program, but these guys can relate to Phil. He's a football guy. He's a team guy. And it kind of sounds like Phil Jurkovec is leading us to the promised land.
Now, I know a lot of you at home are probably pretty skeptical of this, and you have every right to be, because last year we had a highly touted... No, this is going somewhere. No, stop. Last year we had a highly touted transfer who we put a lot of hopes and dreams into their ability to reclaim, what they looked like in previous years. Maybe a little bit injury prone, a lot of question marks, and we convinced ourselves this person is a Heisman dark horse. They can take us to places we've never been. The team around them is so solid. And we were let down. And a lot of you are thinking that and have really tempered your expectations about Phil Jurkovec and what he can do for this team. But fuck that. We, the Loyal Sons, have decided we aren't doing any of that. We are here, we are loyal, and we are all aboard the Phil Jurkovec hype train.
And why wouldn't we be? He looks insane. He has been playing insane. Okay, maybe he's a little pudgy for QB1 standards. I don't know. I've seen some pictures coming out of camp. Yeah, he looks a little thick. We'll just leave it at that. But you know what? Who else was a thick quarterback throwing bombs at Heinz Field? Guy who won 2 Super Bowls for us. So I've heard he's looking Big Ben-esque in camp thus far.
Yeah, I mean, who wants a California skinny quarterback? Been there, done that, didn't work. The city of Pittsburgh needs a big old boy just eating linebackers. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I totally didn't hear you.
Sorry, I said big boy from Gibsonia.
Big boy from Gibsonia. This city lives for a big old boy just wearing linebackers off of the head, delivering balls downfield, extending the play. And that's what we're getting this year. And we're winning the national championship. Too far?
Maybe. You can pump the brakes a little bit.
Right, well,
but
after we beat Wofford, we'll probably get there. Yeah.
For those watching on the YouTube, Squid, are you can you see anything?
You know what? There have been a few comments about me in the lighting. I think I'm just going to take it in stride. I'm not turning my lamp on. I could, but.
Yeah, now you're just showing off those pit stains. So
we didn't have to do that. So whenever the sun goes down, it goes down. It'll be brighter the next segment.
Sure. Well, so I guess suffice to say this week's Heisman Trophy is going to go to Phil Jurkovec. And we're all very bought in now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard all I've needed to hear from the people I trust. And you know what? Football is less than 3 weeks away. We'll be on the North Shore. Only, what do we have? 2 Saturdays that we won't be spending on the North Shore? Yeah. I don't have time to be cautionary to this. No, Phil is going to be very good. We are going to be very good, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Plain and simple.
It's decided.
Love it. Well, without further ado, here is Elijah Zeise. That good?
Perfect.
Are you or someone you know looking for work in a recession-proof industry? Are you someone that's interested in things like having health care, having a 401k, immediate PTO accrual, an employee assistance program, or referral payouts? Our newest sponsor, Haddad Accelerated Delivery, an Amazon delivery partner, is looking for safety-minded and dependable drivers to join their delivery service team. Be a part of a company that will encourage self-ownership and award bonuses based on exceptional safety and delivery efforts. This is the ideal gig for individuals seeking full-time work or students interested in making some pretty good money during breaks. If you or someone you know is safety-focused, hardworking, organized, efficient, and team-oriented, text HADD to 464-646 to apply. I understand that is an impossible string of letters and numbers, so here it is again. That's HADD to 464-646. For a job that's the total package, get it? Because, it's deliveries. Haddad Accelerated Delivery is the place for you.
Please welcome back to the show our good friend and college football Hall of Famer, the night killer, the dog soldier, former Pitt linebacker Elijah Zeise. Elijah, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm doing real well. Excited for the season to get started. Like I can't wait for football to start back up again. These last couple of weeks, just like us, getting all the logistics and stuff for the Notre Dame trip and the in Morgantown. Like I'm pumped for this season. So I've been good.
You're gonna make it up for the brawl? I wasn't sure if you were.
Yeah, I'll be here. Nick James getting married the next weekend. So I figured I'd just send a 10-day, 10-day binge in Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna come in that Thursday, go to the game, and then be there for the week leading up to his wedding. So
I'm pissed you name dropped the Penn Stater.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for Morgantown on and off the field?
Well, on the field, I think, I haven't seen anything to make me believe that we shouldn't win by like 40 points. Just absolutely stomp them. So there's going to be a lot of sad hoopies in the stands. And, as far as off the field goes, I imagine it'll be kind of like when we went to Knoxville, but like just to a much higher level, like just the amount of debauchery and less than PC things that we will be saying to fans.
Or having said back to us.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a time and a half. I'm excited.
I love going on those trips with you because, like, opposing fans, they'll see someone like squirrely, like me or Squid, and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get one," and then you're in the back. You're a nuclear deterrent because people see you and they're like, maybe not this one. Another group, perhaps.
And then Janie will come out of nowhere, just screaming some like absolutely degenerate like shit just at them.
Is he jumping over a row of bleachers?
Yeah.
I remember when we were in Knoxville, I was just having like a casual, like peaceful conversation with some like 19-year-old kid. And like it was very, very cordial, but that night had gotten a little like there was some tension between us and the volunteer fans.
Words were said.
Yeah, Elijah just comes up behind me and just like gives me like a quiet like, do we need to clean this guy up or what's going on? I was like, no, he's cool. But it's always good to know that you're always watching. You're always lurking.
Yeah, it was funny. I like took a couple of shots to the dome and then went to the bathroom. And when I came out of the bathroom, I like saw you and like Brandon over there. And it's like the conversation, I'm sure it was chill, but it like kind of just looked a little bit like animated. So I like sprinted over. I'm like, I better see what's going on over there. You're like, no, he's good. It was such an experience.
Those trips are a good time. You said you're going to make Notre Dame too.
Oh yeah. We're flying in. I think Thursday night, so we're going to stay there Thursday night, and then when all you guys get there on Friday. So it should be another fun time. It's like pretty from where we're at here in Florida. It's a little bit hard to get to, but it should be fun. We have to drive like 2 hours to the Orlando airport, then fly into the Chicago like Midway airport, and then drive another like hour from there. So it'll be interesting, but there's no amount of distance I won't travel to come and see Pitt football. So
yeah, that'll be a very different experience. Probably won't be many fights in Notre Dame. We'll just probably get our ears beaten off about how good they were back in like the 1920s nonstop, and like, all right, time to shut up now.
Newt Rockne won 50 straight games. Newt Rockne's been dead for 60 years. Thank you very much for the history lesson.
Might try and cop like a Catholics versus convicts like a throwback T-shirt or something like that.
You think Narduzzi would let the team show up in fatigues to that game?
I can't imagine.
We need to make a bunch of T-shirts of like the literal Notre Dame in France burning to the ground and hand them out. to players, fans, anybody.
I'm sure most of them just wouldn't get it.
What did you ever get Narduzzi's takes on, like, did he have any takes on Notre Dame? I feel like Narduzzi's very passionate about everything. I feel like he would either be like, this is a great opportunity, you're playing in one of the most historic programs ever, or just like, yeah, I hate them, they think they're better than us.
Yeah, it's more the latter. He's not one for hanging on to tradition and sentiment when it comes to other teams. It's kind of like, they're a bunch of arrogant son of bitches, and like they think that their shit don't stink, like all kinds of shit like that. And you definitely feel that going into the game weeks too. Like there's a definitely, you don't want to treat opponents differently, but there's definitely like an added edge for games like that, where it's like there is that tradition, like, and even if like the team just sucks like this year, like the tradition means nothing to Narduzzi. So
was there a pump up speech like pre-game or like the week lead up to a game that Narduzzi gave that still sticks with you for being like extra ridiculous or extra motivating?
I gotta think about that one. There was, I mean, the first year that we played Penn State was like just an all-time, like there wasn't one specific speech that I remember, but it was like it was just like an all-time like different experience. Like I'm sure you've heard about how like paranoid he is, and so like for most of that week he had us working out, like doing practice in the indoor, despite it being like 90 degrees outside. We were in the indoor the entire week. The indoor was like kind of locked down, so you couldn't like get in without like signing in and like without them knowing who you are, which is funny because like the one parking lot is on the other side of the indoor, and anyone who's going to the facility, if they park on that side, they always just walk through. And so for that week, he basically just shut that down. He was like, you're not coming in here if you don't need to be in here. And there's like a ton of like the Steelers guys who don't park in the front lot trying to get through. And he was basically just telling them like, yeah, you can't do that. And there was I can't remember exactly the speech, but it was along the lines of like the first team meeting in the Monday leading into that week. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was pretty much just like kind of shitting on James Franklin a bunch, and like, you know, just like how Penn State is just like, you know, again, another type of team that just thinks their shit don't stink. You know, kind of just stuff like that. And then I think the next year, I want to say the next year we played there, the third year when they were coming back to Heinz Field. You know how after the second game with them, we lost in Happy Valley, and James Franklin was like quoted as he's saying like, last year when they beat us, it was like the Super Bowl. This year it's kind of just like beating Akron. Well, the first thing that we saw like before the third game, it was like we put it up on the screen. Like we showed up for a team meeting on that Tuesday morning, and he just put on the screen that interview or whatever. And, you know, we were kind of like all looking around, and you could see Narduzzi up there just like steaming, like he had been waiting all year for this, like use this clip or whatever.
Yeah, it clearly helped the team.
yeah. And the funny thing about that game is
there's nothing funny about that game.
There's not a damn thing.
It's awful. Like there is nothing worse than being in the middle of an argument with a Penn State fan and they just throw 51-6 in your face, and you're kind of just like, I guess you fucking got me on that one. I don't know what to say, but
you can always say like, no, you played in that game.
Yeah,
you definitely suited up and played for the team you root for.
Yeah, and
you always have that in your back pocket.
That's true.
He would have rather not suited up for that game, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about that, like, I like think about all the time is going into halftime, the score was like 6-7 or something like that. Like
like remember thinking like we had this game, like we're right there, and then we had to have like blacked out or something because I like don't being in the game. I don't remember the game like getting out of hand at any point. Like even if it was like 44 to 6, I was like thinking like, yeah, we're still kind of in this game. Like there was no point during the game where I like really felt like we were like getting shit on. It kind of just like came on like real fast and like the end middle of the third quarter for the rest of the game. Like it was definitely an ass beating, you know, based on the score. But like when I look back at that game, it just doesn't feel like
It was the
really
it was the closest 51-6 game of all time. I've been saying it for years. I have a similar experience. I was walking through the concourse at halftime, and there was this like arrogant Penn State fan walking around like, "Oh, you guys are so scared. This game's over." I'm like, dude, it's like 10-6 right now, or like 7-6. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
we like muffed the punt, like missed an extra point. Like, we're fine. And then we just ended up not being fine.
Yeah, it literally went downhill like so fast. I like for the life of me, I still can't even like recall what took place in the second half of that game.
Well, since we're on the subject of those type of games, what do you remember from the Oklahoma State game with Mason Rudolph and James Washington? Were you hurt at that point?
I was hurt for the first game. When we played down there.
Oh yeah, I was more so thinking about the game where they had like 35 points at the end.
When they came up here, I like that was just that was a very interesting game. Just because like they like just put up a ton of points on us, and they were just like airing it out like the entire game. Like I remember thinking like during that game, like I really haven't done shit all game. Like it's kind of like to be a linebacker in this game, like there's not really anything going on. He just kind of just kept throwing bombs down the field.
You were just out there running.
Yeah, exactly. Like after like James Washington probably caught like his like fourth touchdown or whatever. There was a point where I was like starting to feel bad for our DBs and stuff, I guess. But like again, I like just remember like my take on that game was like I don't remember really doing shit. Like we were watching film of us and we probably didn't even watch the entire film like just as linebackers because it was pretty much just the same shit for like 86 plays. Or kind of just like, you know,
just in a front row seat to the Mason Rudolph and James Washington show.
Exactly. And
you
had 3 tackles. I'm looking at the box score now, so nothing.
I couldn't remember anything. The one that
there's a serious question.
I do remember. Go on. I do remember. It's funny looking back because now, like I said, I really didn't do anything for that game. But going into that week, we were like when we were watching film and like scouting the team. They had this one. I'm not sure what his name was, but they had this offensive tackle who was legitimately like the biggest motherfucker I have ever seen. Like he was like, this dude was like 6'8" and just like built. And he was the guy that I was like in charge of like trying to like, you know, try and get up on and like kind of, you know, he would be the guy trying to block me. And so I was tasked all week with like trying to shed his block and like kind of, you know, get my gap. And I just remember thinking all week, like I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do this, but like this motherfucker is fucking huge, and I'm just like looking at him on film, and so we get into the game, and
do we have a name for this guy?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I get in. I'll do
what I can.
I get into the game, and it's like one of the first series, and I like line up across from him, and like this dude is even more fucking big than I thought he was going to be. Like he's just like he's like towering over there. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I got to do something with this. And then again, it ended up just being a pretty boring game for us the entire game. So I didn't really have to do anything, but I do remember thinking about that the entire week.
Was it Aaron Cochran by any chance? Number
I
78.
have no. Yeah, 78 sounds familiar. Yeah,
6'8", 350 pounds.
yeah. I'm telling you, this dude was a unit.
They probably decided to air it out because they didn't like that matchup on their end.
Yeah. One can only hope. Yeah.
I do have a serious question, though, a little bit about camp right now. Whenever you're at Pitt, your 4 years, Pitt won 8 games, 5 games, and 7 games. Did you ever have like any idea of how good the team was during camp? Like, did you think, wow, we might be really good and you ended up not being good, or vice versa? Did you ever have a day in camp you're like, does our team just kind of stink?
No, I think for the most part, it's usually like general optimism. But at the same time, like camp is so long that like the first couple of days, you're like, yeah, this like we look good, we feel good, like it's gonna be a good season. And then like honestly, by the time you get to like that, there's like a stretch in between like I want to say the Thursday of the second week and the Thursday of the third week, where it's like just like the absolute dog days of camp. And like at that point, you're kind of just like, you're just kind of sick of shit. Like you're, trying to just kind of bang out the last couple of days. Like you're like kind of blacking out at that point. And I think from that point of camp on, it's like, it's pretty hard to like kind of judge how you feel about the team at that point. Cause you're kind of just like, you're just trying to make it through at this point, like not get hurt. You're trying to, carve out a spot for yourself on the in the starting five. So I don't think there's ever been a time where during camp I thought to myself like, yeah, we're probably going to suck this year. But I think for the most part, I mean, it's usually general optimism during August. Like even if the team sucks, like you feel like, yeah, I mean, we're gonna clean some shit up this year. Like this kind of is how you feel most of the time.
So then if a team does suck that you're on, at what point do you usually, I know you aren't really accustomed to it because Pitt's the best college football program in the world and you went to the University of North Allegheny before that, so you didn't lose a lot. But when you did, at what point typically did the realization dawn of like, oh, we're ass?
It'd probably be your
like
third
2017.
year.
That 2017, that was a pretty bad year. Like you guys kind of stunk.
Yeah, it's funny too because like when you're in it, like when you look back on it, you're just like, yeah, well, you kind of suck. But when you're like in it in the moment, like it always just feels like you're one or two like plays from like, we could just be really good. Like, it's kind of that old like, everyone says it. We're not what our schedule or what our record is. Like we're really good. We're really talented. We're
just need to clean some things up. Yeah, less penalties.
I mean, we could have been 12-0 if we had a bunch of different. Like it's kind of like that. I don't think there was definitely a point during that season where I don't know that I thought we were suck, but I definitely was thinking like this could be like there's a point in the season where I was kind of like, yeah, like we might not make a bowl game like this, we're going to try and get better here. Like we're there, we're playing ball. Like that's, at the end of the day, that's all it is. Record, regardless of the record, like we're kids, we're getting our college paid for, like they're there playing ball. Like we're going to do it anyway.
Then you just clean up number 2 Miami. So
yeah, exactly.
Simple as that.
But there is definitely a point where like you're kind of like, yeah, the season's like not going the way we wanted to say it in the nicest way. And I think the hardest one was at the end of that season. We lost that heartbreaker to Virginia Tech, where Jester Wee got tackled by the shoestrings on the 2-yard line, and then 4 plays we couldn't get it in. I think after that loss was like, I don't want to say that I went home feeling like we sucked, but I definitely went home feeling like, dude, like this sucks. Like this is awful. Like we just can't catch a break. I do remember like that game specifically just being like like, this shit. I'm just tired of this shit. But then we kind of just picked ourselves up, and then we came and played Miami, and we weren't really, I guess, we didn't have a bowl game to go to or anything like that, so we weren't playing for anything per se. But we came out and just, again, we were boys just playing. So
yeah, and the legend of Kenny Pickett starts, and
I mean, exactly.
awkward pause.
We'll write that down.
I got it.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a logical transition there, or?
I can keep going. Actually, I was thinking about it. I was listening to you guys' I was listening to the Peak interview from last week, just on my walk today, and I heard him. You guys were telling him about how you guys watched the UCF game, and he was saying that you guys should just watch a bunch of losses, like classic losses, and it kind of got me thinking just like about a lot of the classic losses that even I had just been involved in. And you guys obviously brought up that Houston one, which
Oh yes,
I love talking about the Houston game, because that honestly is the one of the craziest things I ever been on the sideline for. So I can talk about that one a little bit.
dive in, please do.
Yeah, so that one was crazy. It was the
Hold on, one second. Do we have to tee him up? Is there a lot? Does that go from where we had our awkward pause, or should we tee him up, like give him a softball to talk about this?
I think that it'll play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Proceed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, it definitely was hilarious. It was the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas, and this was right after. It was actually just a hilarious chain of events, because it's right when Chris left, so we really didn't have a coach for the bowl game, and so leading up to the bowl game, like right after Chris left, we were like talking to, as freshmen, we were like talking to a lot of like the older guys who had like been around for a while. And obviously before Chris had gotten there had been like a whole bunch of coach changes and stuff. So they had a lot of the older guys had been through like going through bowl season without like an actual like coach, or like, different coach changes or whatever. And they were like basically telling us like, it's like pretty much just a free for all during bowl season. Like, there's no coach. Like, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like, practice is just like a shit show, basically. Like, you kind of show up, do whatever, and then, it doesn't matter what whoever the interim guy is. Like, it doesn't matter what the fuck he wants. Like, he's not going to do, doesn't mean shit. So you basically, we spent most of the bowl season kind of just like, dicking around, like after practice stuff. Like, once finals are over, like it's pretty much just us on campus, and we have like a fat like per diem check or whatever, like to feed us, and we kind of just like have practice a couple hours a day. But other than that, like we're pretty much, our time is our own. So we just spent a lot of time just like dicking around, like for most of that bowl season. And then we get to the bowl game, and I remember, it's funny, like Texas, you always think like Texas is like a pretty like warm like place. Like, you always kind of think of it as a warm place. And so in my 2 experiences down there, it's definitely like been like the coldest of like a lot of the time that I even spent in Pittsburgh. Like, it's some of the coldest weather I've ever been in was when I was in Texas. But that first day that we got to Texas, it was probably like 55 degrees and sunny, which it was probably like, low 20s back in Pittsburgh. So when we first got there, like we were like, this is awesome. Like, it's so warm. Like, guys are practicing without their shirts on and stuff like that. And then that was the warmest it got. But the next day, it was like literally like -20, like extremely cold, like extremely cold. It was like raining. and like snowing sideways. Like we were like talking to like locals there, said it like hadn't snowed there in forever, and they just happened to start snowing there. And so that was basically the weather for the game too. Like it was like extremely cold. Like I said, extremely cold, raining sideways, snowing sideways. Like all of us like young guys were on the sideline, just like kind of trying to share those big like sideline coats.
Yeah.
Like whenever the defense would go onto the field, like for their drive, we would all get the coats, and so we would just be hoping that they would just be on the field forever. And then they'd come back, we have to give the coats back and like kind of try and go by the big heaters or whatever. So that's like basically how the setup of like just the environment of the game was. The actual game
started off pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like the game itself was like so much fun. Like most of the action of the game happened in the last 3 minutes and like 30 seconds of the game. Like that's really what I remember. The most of the game, it was like pretty much we had it was like 30-6 for like a long portion of the game. And James was looking good. The offense was looking good. T. Boyd was like, doing T. Boyd stuff. The defense was, holding. I think the quarterback was like Greg Ward Jr.
Yeah.
And, the defense was looking like pretty solid. Like everyone was like on the sidelines, like having a good time. We had the guys like the younger guys are kind of like turning around, like fucking around in the stand, like fans, like their family who traveled, like were up there. You had coaches who were like kind of fucking around. Like everyone's like kind of, we're getting to that point where like we feel like we definitely have it, So like everyone's like talking, like coaches and players who are like getting ready to transfer and like get out of there, like talking about their plans for the future. Like, we're like all just kind of like having the
just hanging out.
Yeah, the time of our lives on the sideline. I'll never forget. Two of the freshmen were like kind of standing like on the sideline, and the one, his mom was like in the stands, like trying to get him to turn around to like so he could take a picture of him and his friend, whatever. And he was like trying to play it cool, because he didn't want the coaches to hear whatever. And the one coach, he was our receivers coach at the time, Greg Lewis. He like comes over. He's like, the kid's name was Curly. He comes over. He's like, Curly, your mom's trying to get a picture, man. Turn around. And he kind of just like got in the picture with him to take the picture. Like we were just like fooling around on the sidelines.
Morale was high.
Yeah, and so
just for context, most Pitt fans should know, but for some younger Pitt fans, I'm looking at the game cat. So it was 31-6 with 5:12 left in the game. Or sorry, that was third quarter. It was 34-13 with 4:29 left.
Yeah.
4:29. Okay.
Yeah. So from that point, I want to say what happened was they scored on I forget what the first score of that stretch was. I think it was like a fade ball to someone, and they caught it in the end zone, I think, and that was a touchdown. And I remember us on the sideline, like kind of thinking like, oh, they're coming back. Like, just kind of joking around. And then they like line up for an onside kick, obviously. And we're like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you got to do. Kind of just, our little comments on the sideline. They get the onside kick, and we're like still not worried because like we're still up by a significant amount. They get the onside kick, and I think it takes them. I think it takes them all of like 2 or 3 plays to get down the field and score. There's, I think, Coach House at the time was playing like some bullshit like cover 2, and they just kept running like a trips like 3 vert, and the guy was like kind of just cutting through the middle of the safety, and he was wide open on every single play. And we were like kind of watching the 2 safeties just like spread apart, and we are like, dude, are you fucking joking? So the dude caught the ball, and they went down and scored again. And we were like, still kind of like joking a little bit, like, I mean, now they're really coming back, like, like kind of like, no, everyone's like kind of just like, we're good.
Yeah, all right.
Then they come out to get another onside kick. They line up for another onside kick. And at this point, we're like feeling pretty confident, like, onside kicks are very unlikely to begin with. 2 in a row, like, come
Get
on.
the hell out of here.
Yeah. So then they kick the second one. And I think the second one is the one where it like Nick Grigsby, we call him Freeze. He, I believe, was in like perfect position to just get it. But somehow it like went through his legs, bounced off like his back leg, and like landed perfectly for the Houston guys to just jump on it. And so they jumped on it. And we were all on the sideline like, are you shitting me? we like had no idea like even how to react. Like we were just standing there just like just completely shocked. So then the last drive comes, and I can't remember how they scored on the last one.
It was a DeMarcus Ayers 29-yard pass from Greg Ward on a 4th and 13.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of shit we were dealing with. Yeah. But they scored that, and
oh wait, no, that was one of the previous touchdowns. The next one was the Greg Ward to Greenberry in the end zone, it looks like.
Okay.
So.
I think that one then might have just been the one I was talking about, where they were just in cover 2 the entire way down and they ran through. I think that was the one they scored to like tie it up. I think the touchdown I missed was a run. It was a run, and I'll like never forget this play. It was a run around. It was it's like an outside zone. And they come running around the corner. It's probably like from the 15-yard line or something. The running back had the ball, and he just like Lafayette Pitts was like kind of on a block, like trying to like contain the run or whatever. The dude like kind of just like hit stick Lafayette like 4 yards back into the end zone. He like kind of fell down, and the dude just like kind of spiked the ball, and it like he spiked the ball pretty much on Lafayette Pitts. And I remember we were like we were on the sidelines, like kind of like just dying, like because it was like hilarious, honestly.
Well, Houston only scored on that last drive. They went for 2 and got it to take the
yeah.
lead.
So that they got the touchdown, and which made it 30-31 at that point. And we're like, all right, well, we still got time left. We'll just go. We'll clean this up to a field goal. Like, we'll be fine. And then they we'll clean it up with a last minute field goal, or we'll just go to overtime. We'll be fine. Then we see, like, instead of the extra point team coming out, we see them just coming back out again, like their offense coming back out. And we're like kind of just on the sideline, like, there's no fucking way. Like, we're really about to lose this game. They come out and they run like some, I want to say it was like a trips. The 2 outside guys ran like 2 like 5-yard ins, and then the third guy ran a corner. And we were watching the play, and the dude who was running the corner route was like, when he eventually got the ball thrown to him, he like wasn't really that open. But when he should have gotten the ball, he was standing in the end zone, like completely unguarded. Like, we were standing in the sideline, we could see it perfectly. We're like, dude, like he's wide ass open. And for whatever reason, I guess maybe our rush like kind of drove him out of the pocket or whatever, so he couldn't see him. But when Greg Ward like threw the ball, like he was like the dude was a little bit covered. He still caught it, but I just remember like seeing how wide open the dude was in the end zone. I'm like, it just wasn't in the stars for us today. So then we get the ball back. We're still like, at this point, there's still like a minute 10 seconds, some shit like that left, and we get the ball, and we're like trying to drive down the field, and forget what happens exactly. Like we get to probably like midfield, and we're trying to like get into field goal range, and we run like 2 plays or like incomplete passes or something like that. And then we run another one, and T Boyd is like wide open, streaking down the middle. Like this is in like automatic, like 20, 25 yard gain. We're right in field goal range, or like, the game is ours. He's wide open. He like gets the ball, like the ball comes to him, and he kind of just like hits it, and like it just like, the ball just goes straight down to the ground. Like it hits his hands perfectly and just kind of goes to the ground. And at that point, everyone on the sidelines was just kind of looking at each other like it's done. It's a wrap.
T Boyd's dropping passes. That's all. That's all she wrote.
It was never. Yeah, this was never our game to win. If he's dropping passes like this, like it is what it is. So he dropped it, and then 4th down came, and I don't know. I think Voidic scrambled around like however Voidic usually scrambled around, and the game ended after that, and it was just like absolute silence in the locker room after that. I like remember sitting in my locker, like just trying to like de-thaw, and just not hearing a word, just like it was just stone silent. I think that to this day is still like the worst loss that I think I ever experienced at Pitt.
I mean, how upset could you really be about a bowl game where you didn't have your head coach? I mean, I know how ugly you guys ended up losing it, but like silver lining, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I do remember just like kind of thinking like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What it is. And the worst part about it was just like how embarrassing it was, because like obviously having that lead and then just everything that happened, like that's the worst part that I think is like it was just so bad.
Yeah, if you lose the Armed Forces Bowl, most sports fans don't know, but I specifically remember that being like the lead highlight on the Sports Center the next day.
Dude.
It's like, wow, look how bad Pitt fucked this up.
Yeah, exactly. That was bad. I think that same year, I think it might have been the next year, actually. The next year where we, against Georgia Tech, where we got, they put 28 points up on us. Like,
this is a great time. Wait, Elijah, we have a special guest joining. This is getting crashed. We're getting crashed. Look who it is.
Wow.
It's the Loyal Sons Stats Department, Uncle Dick. What a surprise.
Fresh in from Bradford, Pennsylvania, the high-grade oil metropolis of the world. Many of you are familiar with it. Please go and visit before it is returned completely back to nature, and it is absorbed by the Allegheny National Forest. How you guys doing?
Uncle Dick, Elijah was just telling us about that game. Well, he just told us a whole long story about the Armed Forces Bowl. I'm sure you.
No. I'm able to sit upright finally after years and years. After that, do you guys know the Gabe Roberts story about his Armed Forces Bowl ball that I think that they destroyed, kind of like the Steve Bartman ball? I think something to that effect.
I'm not privy to this story.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that.
Oh, okay. So, Billy, as I will call him, my son is, pretty good friends.
Cousin Bill, yeah.
Correct. He's pretty good friends with Gabe, and and he was there, in Fort Worth, and they lived together for a brief time on the South Side, and he had his official, his ball, part of his bling or whatever from the game. And I guess I'll have to make sure I've got it with 100% authority, but I'm pretty sure that they did destroy it in some manner. So this is to whet your appetite for future episodes. If I'm so, and by the way, happy to be here. But if I'm privileged enough to be on this, I can give you a full tour of what damage was done, what permanent damage was done to our house at the end of that game. There's actually 3 separate incidents, and let's see, let me
One
think.
for every onside kick. Is that...
No, it all happened at once. So you got to remember, it was at Christmas time. So the first casualty was, well, no, the first casualty was a punch to the wall in our basement that is covered by a Pitt pennant now. So that I can very easily show you. But the second casualty was a Jolly Ranchers, one of those candy cane filled Jolly Rancher things, whatever, that was fired against the wall that shattered in the corner of our basement. So there's quite a wound that was created there, only to be topped by the punch to the garage door outside, which is 4 distinct knuckle marks, which we have it all documented. And for what it's worth, let me think how many people: Adam Bisnawati, Brian O'Neill, Artie Roll, Gabe Roberts, and Dave Murphy have all personally been given that tour. We'll call it the Armed Forces tour. So,
great memories from that.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed. Why I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm sad. I mean, if you wish for me in this occasion to just, because that could have been the turning point. Think about it. Pat Narduzzi was at that game. And so if you think about it, it's like, okay, Pat, here it is. This is us. This is being.
Oh, yeah.
And my analogy for that game was, it's like, picture, hey, did you guys hear that the Titanic sank? And how did it sink? Oh, well, the Hindenburg crashed into it. It's like, I mean, it was just a disaster on top of a disaster. Because if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't one. It was didn't 2 onside kicks just roll through the legs of a Pitt fight.
Yeah.
So before we get any further, I wanted to do a proper introduction. Rich, Uncle Dick, as we call him, is the Loyal Sun Stat and Info Department. If you follow us on Twitter, you've seen some of the statistics pulled from his personal spreadsheet of Pitt fun facts that he's been keeping for decades. Elijah, he had a couple questions for you. So we threw him the link to the stream, and he's making his Loyal Sun Show debut. And Uncle Dick, I'm just gonna leave it to you, please.
You want me to ask questions? I mean, here, I guess more than anything, right off, just totally, because I came hoping to get questions, because if I'm not steered in a very, very precise direction, I'm going to give you 15 minutes as to why the closing of the original hot dog shop is a, precursor for the apocalypse, that we're, you know what I mean? That, it's like that's like the beginning of the end of the world. So I could go steering off on about a million different tangents and such. But I mean, I guess, Elijah, I'll ask right out. I mean, so what keeps a loyal son a loyal son? I mean, especially nowadays where, people have choices to go all over the place, whatever. But what is, okay, number one is there a secret sauce to Pitt? And secondly, it's like, what is it? And what compels people to remain, to become and remain Panthers?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I think for me, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. So, I think for Pittsburgh kids, it should be like, it should just be kind of tradition that's what it is. Like, kind of just growing up, being able to play for your hometown team. I think, in the last, for a while, Pitt has always kind of been the butt of a lot of jokes, just because of, the way we lose sometimes. And I think a lot of times that's what makes it hard to continue to be a loyal son. And so I think that's, from that standpoint, it's, harder to recruit guys. Though I think in Narduzzi's time here, I think he's done a really good job of, kind of building up that tradition back to what it was. And also, we still have those losses that like really just make you scratch your head. But I think In the last few years, we've had enough success that, we're kind of turning the corner as far as that, that secret sauce, I guess, so to say. Guys are kind of buying in, not just guys on the team, but people who want to come to this program, who are looking at this program like for a place to go. Like, it's not it's not something they look at and then kind of just, skim over real quick and then they're out. It's more so, really taking a good hard look at Pitt and what Pitt's about. And I think it starts with Narduzzi and just the type of guys that he brought in. I heard, I was listening to you guys you guys talked to Salim Brightwell, and he kind of, alluded to it a bunch, is, it's recruiting a lot of guys who aren't, big name guys like on 247 Sports and stuff like that. It's, Narduzzi kind of has a good feel of the type of person that he wants to come into to Pitt. And so I think it starts with that. It's a lot of, regardless of where the stars are at, like just a lot of quality, good guys who are going to come in, who are going to put the work in, maybe guys who have always, felt like they were overlooked, stuff like that. And that's, that combined with the coaching and the guys who care about you, that is our Pitt coaching staff. Like, I think those things combined are what make, Pitt such a premier destination, or getting to that spot at this point.
I think the secret sauce is Panther bombs. I'll just keep it simple.
Literally the secret sauce.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the recipe from Cage, and I'll bring them for Morgantown and South Bend.
Uncle Dick, are you going to Morgantown?
I would never, under any circumstances, go to Morgantown. In fact, my son is under strict orders. If he comes, if I hear anything about, I mean, it was bad. And this is the frustration, is that I love rivalries. It's like Pitt should be playing they should be playing Penn State and West Virginia every year. I mean, there's no question. There's been something gravely lost by these rivalries kind of being watered down with all the stuff that's gone on with realignment and whatever. But but I would say that the experience from last summer was great in the end result, of course, but it was like, it would be nice if I was not impressed with with that same fan base for many respects. I mean, it's like, let's just have some fun with this. Now, having said that, I will be in South Bend on October 28th, and that will be a blast. And it's another thing about Pitt's presence within the entire sphere of college football. I mean, it's like I'm at the end of the day a realist. I get it. Look at the stacked deck in which we're competing against this program. To these monster schools that they care so much about it, right? Pitt is a smaller school. We were left for dead like a deer splattered on Route 66 in Marionville, whatever, in the 90s, and it started kind of roughly in the Walt Harris era, but then definitely Pat has done pretty impressive things in their time in the ACC. But think about what a stacked deck that is compared to Ohio State, to Penn State, to the mega programs in the SEC, whatever. So the fact that, when I first met all you guys, was in Knoxville 2 seasons ago, and it was just awesome. And I have a line here because I'm checking in here from Minnesota, where people here are like, this is the University of Mars to them, and they don't even pay attention, right? So what? I don't care. We went to Knoxville and beat that team. I mean that, and yes, Elijah, to your point. And then the next week they shit their pants. Am I allowed to say shit, by the way, on here?
Oh yeah,
please do. Yeah,
you insist that I do that. I mean, it's just like, of course, we can't help ourselves in that regard. I mean, they literally could have gone undefeated that regular season, but you know what? Still won the. I mean, they still did pretty darn well. It's hard to do even that, but as I say around here, you can't beat good teams if you don't play good teams. So the fact that this year they're going at West Virginia, they're going at Notre Dame, they play Cincinnati. There's no other team playing 3 Power 5 out of conference games. In these parts, it's, gosh, we've got, the Texas Institute of Laundry, folding, and, we've got the blind sisters of the, deaf that are, playing, whatever. It's like, oh boy, we rolled on them 56-0. We look pretty good, and then you crap your pants against your rival every single year, whatever. So Pitt doesn't bow from competition. That is a great credit to the entire athletic department that they schedule these games. Pat has run this program with a chip on his shoulder. Bill, my son's going to 100% agree that I basically live my life with a chip on my shoulder. I'm always, butthurt about whatever people are saying about whatever. And last weekend we were in Canton, when they inducted, number 10, that's what, one behind Ohio, 4 schools with more people. And we still have people rolling in, so, that's kind of my take, is that, maybe, I don't know if that's the secret sauce. It's like if a recruit, and, I wasn't a recruit,